Hello guys. Today we're here talking about A Christmas Story. I actually haven't seen this till last year, and I didn't talk about it then because everything was already recorded for that month. So I decided I'll save it for next year. So I remember this film very vividly. Um, so this came out in 1983. It's rated PG. It's an hour 33 long, not long. It has 7.9 out of 10 on IMDb with about 138 8,000-ish user votes, and it has 77% on Metacritic with about 91 critics. Um, let's see. It stars Peter Billingsley. It's gonna be a little bit of a loading thing. Who was also in. He actually produced Iron Man movie, which is interesting. Um, and then also Melinda Dillon, who was Melinda Dillon is who was also in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and and the movie was directed by Bob Clark, who also did. I remember this name. He also did Black Christmas and some other interesting stuff as well. He's had a very diverse directing career, to say the least. Um, um, On Rotten Tomatoes, the film has 89% by critics with about 57 critics and 88% by audience. It's about 250,000-ish audience people. The critics' consensus on Rotten Tomatoes, let me lower this here, is both warmly nostalgic and darkly humorous. A Christmas Story deserves its status as a holiday perennial, perennial, whatever the name is. On the Just Watch app. The movie is available to stream on HBO Max, DirecTV, Sling, TNT, TBS. I think that's Amazon Prime, I believe, yeah. And then True TV. It's available to rent and buy on Apple TV, Google Play, YouTube, Vudu, Microsoft Store, Redbox, DirecTV, and what else? And is that Alamo something? I don't know. That's a new one. And it was released on DVD in 1999. So well, there's a few things that stick out to me with this movie. One is the pace. This movie has one of those classic traditionals, hour and a half, just brilliant paces. It just feels like a complete thing in such a smaller amount of time. And I always love those kind of movies. And the older and older I get, the more and more I kind of treasure them. um, it's funny. It really is funny, and to be honest, it is relatable at the same time. Really, because I remember reading about this. This movie was not a huge hit when it came out. It just became a cult movie actually over time, and then it eventually got the acclaimed status that it has now. But it didn't start off like that. And I think the reason why it didn't start off like that, I noticed a trend in movies in the 70s to the 80s, like throughout the 70s into the a little early movies. Any movie that's based in the 40s or 40s time period doesn't seem to do well off the bat. In this film, or early 50s or whatever. And I think a lot of it is because people were still a lot, like people still took what happened in those time periods very seriously, so it was very hard for like the current eyes to like 50s. It was kind of okay because 50 was kind of a like a kooky time anyway, but 40s, like 40s 30s, like 30s to the 40s, things were very serious then. Like things weren't, I mean, especially like the World War II era and all that. Like people took that era very seriously. I mean, nowadays people make parodies of that time period all the time. People are fine with it, but back then it was still fresh. So I think what made this film ended up being very successful was one, it has nothing to do with war. First of all, and second of all, I think what made this film good because it was genuine. That's the best way to describe this film. This film is a genuine movie, a genuine, relatable movie. And despite it being based in the 40s, it has stuff in it that feel very relatable to the audience and also to the audience now. And that's why I think it's maintained its popularity because it's, in a lot of ways, it's a timeless story. I mean, in specific areas, it's definitely a product of its time, but it's also based on a book. And what really helps is the guy who narrates it's actually the author of that story. And the story itself is based on, I think it's based on experiences in his life, give or take how much, I'm not quite sure. But either way, the author had a very passion for the story. And he told the story in the way he felt natural in. And it really brought the whole movie to life. And that's what made it so good. And that's what it comes down to. It's just genuineness. Now, of course, in terms of the specific ingredients, I mean, they're all executed solidly. There's nothing bad about the movie at all. I mean, anyone who doesn't like this movie is probably going to be for reasons. It's one of those things where the same reason someone may like a movie are the exact same reason someone might hate the movie. It's just one of those things. But that should be pretty minority for a movie like this. I don't know a lot of people who don't like this movie, if anybody at all. I the only thing is I don't know. My wife's the one that really loves this movie, Corey. Um, but um, but I don't know how many people in my generation I actually get into this movie, and I'm starting to notice a trend where a lot of like classic movies, like young people in my generation aren't super familiar with, and it's kind of it makes sense because it's the thing where younger people are drawn to things within their age range. They're not gonna be drawn to things that are like old, but for some reason it's weird. Like you would think that with technology nowadays, I mean, that it'd be easier to get into like older stuff, and in a lot of ways it has been, but it seems like people only scratch the surface and then stop there. Like, and Christmas Story originally was kind of at that surface, I feel like, but now it's kind of, I feel like it's becoming one of those movies that it's still good, but people are just like, oh yeah, that movie, and then that's it. People don't really take time to like really think about it. Like, I should watch it. People don't think that far enough, really, when it comes to that stuff. But yeah, but overall, if you are gonna think about that, it's a good movie to do it because one, it's an hour and a half, which I feel like nowadays, I feel like people prefer shorter movies nowadays because of how much attention spans have gone down a little bit, in my opinion. So an hour and a half is a good runtime for it. I love that runtime myself too. And like I said, it's just a genuine movie, and I think it's hard not to get into genuine movies. I feel like even if a film has flaws in it, if it's genuine, I feel like people could get behind it despite maybe some flaws. And then this film doesn't really have flaws either. So, but yeah, overall, I do enjoy this movie, and I do recommend watching it as well. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. In case you want to chat with me, Mike, or anyone else at the Campy Company, you don't want to use the YouTube comment section, we do have a couple options. The first one is we have a Discord channel. You can find a link to that in the About page / About section of our channel. We also have a discussion tab in our channel as well. You can access that through a PC or laptop computer. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Please subscribe and like the videos, and have a good day.